After leaving the Cotswolds in Stanton, I set my GPS for Wales, and with that, I had my first regret of this trip. This is the way I drove in from Stanton. And here's the route I should have taken. This way, I could have stopped at the Llewellyn Monument in Buath, Wales, and paid my respects to a hero of the Welsh people. Llewellyn ap Griffith was killed in battle, fighting side by side with his men to free the Welsh of Norman rule. I left Stanton and the Mount Inn pretty late, and on my way into Snowdonia, I just couldn't stay awake much longer, and realized I needed to pull over and sleep in the car yet again. This night was much colder, and the sleeping wasn't exactly peaceful, as there was a storm raging in that was very loud inside the car. But I managed to get a few hours in anyway, starting out early on a windy, rainy morning from a pull-off stop near Glasfryn, where I slept. I made my way into Snowdonia and Llanberis. The roads that wind up and down these mountains was maybe the most beautiful drive I was ever on. The closer I got to Llanberis, the more people I seen alongside the road, and it wasn't easy driving past all these beautiful rocky slopes without stopping to take a look. With the shoulder of the road only being a stone wall, there simply wasn't a pull-off. Tonight I really needed a bed, so for the next 2 days I checked into the Royal Victorian Hotel right in town. Right after checking in and moving in my luggage, I took the time to send some postcards to people back home. It was long overdue. With a break in the wind and the rain, I finally had an opportunity to explore the town a little bit. I loved seeing the Welsh language on all the signs. Much like in Ireland, the Welsh put their language on top of the English. The Welsh language is beautiful and very old. It's one of the few languages left spoken today that is truly native to the Isle. It's so refreshing to see it so healthy and alive, and so many people using it daily. I saw a sign for waterfall, and decided to take a walk and check it out. There were sheep walking all along the path. They seemed curious a little bit, but as soon as I got close, they took off every time. The break in the weather and the walk up this path was a great break from the drive and a nice change of scenery. The thick moss growing under the green canopy of trees would not have looked out of place in the Lord of the Rings illustration. The damp green smell of a warm early autumn rain lingered throughout the whole trail, making this walk exceptionally refreshing after being stuck in that car for so long in the stormy weather. I walked across the Snowdon Mountain Railway, and there it was, crashing hard against the rocks from the recent rain. It was definitely worth the climb. There they are. They don't like the sight of me. On the way back down, the sheep appeared to have made a stand and regrouped. But as I walked towards them, they changed their minds quickly. Sorry, I don't even like mutton. That's just madness. The homes in Llanberis were very sturdy looking, and the stones beautifully cut. They looked perfect in the shadow of Snowdon Mountain. The people who built this town were obviously very skilled quarrymen. I took shelter under this very curious bridge as the rain started to make a comeback. I got to explore the town a little while longer before the rain became more steady, forcing me back inside. Inside the hotel bar, I had some interesting and very different food, and my favorite beer the entire trip. At this point, I haven't had an actual bed or bathroom since Tintagel in Cornwall. After finally having a hot shower and a great earful of the Welsh language, along with a proper stagger to my step, quickly put me to sleep for the next 14 hours. Due to the storm when I arrived the first day, the mountain railway was offline. So upon waking up, I quickly purchased a ticket for the old steam train to the top of Snowdon Mountain. It was definitely a very nostalgic trip, and it reminded me of being on the old Steamtown train in Scranton when I was a kid. Although the weather was drastically improved, it still wasn't perfect. But I think the views on the way up speak for themselves. This is a first for me. Going up on a mountain like this, in this old steam train, rattled my nerves a little bit, especially looking down drops like this. The views are something I'll remember my whole life. I didn't take a lot of footage, as I was too busy taking in the sights. But this is about halfway up, and those white specks are houses. Climbing Snowdon on that old steam train was quite an experience, but I have to admit to feeling just a little relieved when arriving at the top. It was very cold, and I couldn't resist buying a souvenir sweater. Up this high, the rain and the fog still lingered, obstructing the view, leaving me with no alternative but to enjoy it anyway. On the ground again, I enjoyed a Welsh oggie and some Welsh cookies. More of the Welsh language, and of course more of the Welsh beer. I decided to take a walk over, behind the hotel, to Dulbedarn Castle. There's a lot of interesting history here, and the structure itself is one of the first stone-fortified castles built by the native Welsh. Built by the earlier mentioned Llewellyn ap Gruffydd's grandfather, this tower structure is the only part left still standing today. Mostly what is left of Dulbedarn today is just the foundations of its former self. This is one of the most iconic places in Wales. And without a doubt, one of the most frequently photographed. I was told to go check this place out in this town, and here it is. I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce it, but one of the local Welsh guys insisted that I go see it, and hearing him pronounce it was definitely very impressive. Being well rested up, I checked out of the Royal Victorian. I took a nice long drive around Snowdonia National Park, doing my normal thing of driving and stopping. Snowdonia National Park has some of the best walking trails I've ever seen, and I was lucky enough to enjoy some of them. Beautiful mountain streams that drop from high to low can be seen almost everywhere. Along with seemingly endless pastures of free-range sheep. The wind-swept slopes, the hidden little lakes, and the weathered boulders. So many of these things make up the natural beauty that is Snowdonia National Park. Make it needless to say that leaving a place like this was very difficult. I made a stop in Corwin on my way out of Wales. I wanted to see the recently built statue of Owain Glyndŵr. Outside of Wales, the name doesn't mean much. Inside, however, it's arguably the most iconic name in Welsh history. The last native Welshman to hold the title Prince of Wales, Owain Glyndwr's life is at least as admirable as the great William Wallace's, except Owain was much more successful. I will leave a great Welsh-made documentary about his life and heroism in the description box below. I would like to see Owain Glyndwr rightfully remembered with other great Celtic rebels throughout history, such as William Wallace, Padraig Pearse, or Michael Collins. My parting thoughts on Wales are this. It's a great injustice that Wales is not recognized as one of the United Kingdoms of Great Britain. I have been all over the British Isles, and Wales feels the most like a separate country than all the others I've been. A very unique and strongly living language and culture. Give Wales a strong national identity all its own, worthy of at least recognition, if not total independence. The spirit of Owain Glyndwr lingers here amongst his people. On my way back in England, I make a hard choice to pass through the Yorkshire Dales in the Lakes District. And I make my next stop Scotland. Thanks for watching.